Verelia was a world of light and silence. Twin suns hovered in its sky, casting soft golden rays across the land. The trees shimmered with leaves like glass. Crystals grew from the ground in patterns as natural as grass, glowing faintly with energy. Lakes reflected the stars, even during the day. This was a place where no war had ever been fought, where the people walked slowly and spoke kindly. It was a world built on memory and harmony. Kyle stood on a high cliff, overlooking the valley of whispering trees. He was young, only 23 cycles old, but sharp-eyed and full of questions. His skin shimmered faintly in the sun, like all Verelians. He wore the brown and silver robes of a scout, and a small map projector blinked quietly on his wrist. He liked watching the land, not for threats, but for beauty. On Verelia there had never been a need to fear. The elders lived in the high temple at the center of the capital, carved into the side of a mountain. They were old, some had lived hundreds of years, and their voices were slow and quiet, but their eyes saw far beyond the present. They were the keepers of knowledge. They remembered things others tried to forget. One evening, Kyle sat with Elder Ciro, the oldest among them. They drank warm root tea as the sun set. "Elder," Kyle asked, "why do we still fear the humans? It's been generations since they came. Maybe they've changed." Elder Ciro looked at him with soft eyes. "We do not fear them. We remember them." Kyle waited. "They came before," the elder said. "When your great-grandmother was a child, they spoke of peace, but brought machines. They asked questions, then dug holes. We showed them light, and they took shadows with them when they left. They don't understand balance. They only understand need. But maybe they've grown," Kyle said quietly. "We have," the elder sipped his tea. "Perhaps. But some things take more than time to change." That night, Kyle couldn't sleep. He looked up at the stars through the clear dome above his home. So many lights, so many worlds. He wanted to see them. Maybe somewhere out there, peace had spread like it had here. 3 days later, the light came. At first, it looked like a falling star. It streaked across the sky just after dawn. Then it slowed. Kyle, out on patrol in the eastern plains, watched it descend. It moved too smoothly to be a meteor. It glowed blue at the edges and left no trail. He touched his communicator. "Central, this is Scout Kyle. I see something coming down. It's a ship." Silence, then a soft reply. "We see it too. Return to the capital. The council is calling an emergency gathering." By the time Kyle reached the city, the ship had landed just beyond the temple wall. It was large, sleek, silver, and humming with quiet power. Human letters marked the side. A ramp extended slowly, and a group of figures walked out. They wore suits like armor, their faces behind dark glass. In front of them walked a tall man with gray hair and a sharp face. His expression was calm, but Kyle felt something in his chest tighten. The man stepped forward and bowed slightly. He spoke in perfect Verelian. "I am Commander Roth. We come from Earth. We come in peace." The council welcomed them. People gathered. Some cheered. After all, many had hoped this day would come. Proof that they were not alone, that their peace could be shared. But Kyle stood in the back, silent. Elder Ciro did not cheer. He only watched with tired eyes and whispered, "They came again." And Kyle, for the first time, felt unsure about what he truly wanted. The next morning, the city buzzed with excitement. News of the humans spread quickly through the crystal towers and soft fields. People gathered near the edge of the capital, where the human ship rested like a silver beast asleep in the grass. Children stared wide-eyed. Traders whispered about Earth's machines and knowledge. Even the birds seemed quieter, as if the world itself was waiting to hear what would happen next. Kale stood at the edge of the crowd, arms crossed. He had not slept well. His thoughts twisted around Elder Ciro's words and the look in Commander Roth's eyes, calm, sharp, controlled. It didn't match the warmth in his voice. The council met inside the great circle hall, a place built from living crystal that echoed softly with every word. The humans were invited in. Roth walked calmly beside 2 other humans, one a woman with long black hair and metal tools strapped to her legs, the other a short, quiet man with a cold stare. Behind them guards waited near the door, hands on weapons they did not draw. Council leader Arian rose to speak. He was young for a leader, barely 60, but chosen for his charm and ambition. He smiled brightly. "We welcome you to Varelia. We have lived in peace for thousands of years. We hope you come with the same intent." Roth bowed his head. "We do," he said. "Earth is changing. We seek peace, not conquest. Our people are growing fast, and we are running out of what we need to survive. But we come not to take. We come to share. In exchange for a small amount of your world's crystal energy, we offer technology, medical tools, clean energy, a future of friendship." The council murmured in approval. Some smiled. Others looked thoughtful. Kale, standing at the side of the chamber as a scout observer, frowned. His eyes moved between Roth and the council. The human's voice was calm, his words smooth, but his eyes never blinked. His shoulders never lowered. Everything about him was measured. After the meeting, the humans were given temporary homes near the edge of the city. Kale followed them from a distance, his steps silent. He watched as Roth and his team entered their shelter and sealed the door. Later that night, Kale sat with Elder Ciro once more. "They want to mine our energy crystals," Kale said quietly. The elder nodded. "Of course they do. They say it's for peace. Of course they do." Kale looked at the tea in his hands. "Should we stop them?" The elder sighed. "We already tried. Long ago. They didn't listen. We told the council again, but they do not want to hear warnings. They want progress. They think humans have changed. Maybe they have, but not all change is good." "Then what do I do?" The elder met his eyes. "You watch, you learn, and if the time comes, you act." The next day, Commander Roth returned to the council with a map of crystal-rich areas. He requested permission to begin surveying the land. Leader Arian approved it quickly. "They only wish to observe," Arian said. Kale said nothing, but his hands tightened at his sides. A week passed. Human machines rolled into the plains, silent crawling devices with blinking lights. They scanned the land, humming low as they moved. Roth smiled at every meeting, spoke politely, and offered small gifts, a healing spray for wounds, a floating screen that displayed Earth's cities. But Kale noticed small things. The machines didn't stop after scanning. They drilled tiny holes. They left behind small, sharp sensors buried just beneath the surface. One evening, Kale followed Roth and his second-in-command, Lieutenant Voss, into a sealed camp near the edge of a large crystal field. Using his scout tools, Kale climbed to the edge of the cliff above them and listened through his translator disc. "It's perfect," Voss said. "The core readings are stronger than we thought." Roth nodded. "Once we tap the main channel, we extract fast. 3 days of drilling, then we pull out. What about the Varelians? They'll thank us. At first, then they'll blame us. But by then we'll be gone." Kale felt cold. He pressed his back against the stone, heart pounding. He had heard enough. He returned to the capital at dawn. The council met that morning. Kale stood before them and played back the recording. Roth's voice echoed in the crystal walls. "Once we tap the main channel, we extract fast. By then we'll be gone." Some council members looked shocked, others looked angry. But Leader Arian raised a hand. "This could be fake," he said calmly. "We don't know how this was recorded. Kale, you are brave, but you let your fear speak too loudly." "But I saw it," Kale said. "I heard it." "Roth is lying. You're young," Arian said. "You see ghosts in shadows. This is a new era. Do not hold us back with old fears." The room fell silent. Kale stepped back, throat tight. He looked to the elders, but they said nothing. "Not yet, not here." Kale left the hall alone. He looked up at the sky, where the twin suns were rising again. "They came in peace," they said. "So had the ones before." The wind moved slowly across the plains, brushing over the grass and the silent machines left by the humans. They hummed softly, hidden beneath the ground like insects waiting to sting. The drills hadn't started yet, but Cal knew they would soon. The council had made its choice. They trusted Roth. They ignored the warning. Cal walked the ridge above the valley where the human base had grown larger. At first, it had been a single silver ship. Now it was a field of machines, crates, and humming towers. Lights blinked even during the day. People from the capital wandered close sometimes, curious and hopeful, unaware of the danger below their feet. Cal was not curious anymore. He was watching. He crept closer than before, slipping past the first line of motion sensors using his scout tools. His suit softened his steps. His body blended with the stone and grass. He moved like a shadow and stopped just outside the main structure, an angular metal building with thick walls and no windows. From his belt, Cal pulled out a small sphere and tossed it into the air. It hovered silently, blinking green. It drifted up and slipped through a gap near the roof. A moment later, a clear image flickered onto Cal's wrist device inside the room. Commander Roth stood in the center, looking over a glowing 3D map of Virilia's underground crystal channels. Lieutenant Voss was beside him. Engineers moved in and out, carrying tools and placing charges along drill routes. Roth spoke. His voice was clear. "We begin the core drill tomorrow. Phase 1, extract surface crystals for cover. Phase 2, tunnel to the main energy vein." Voss nodded. "The sensors are reading a full spread. If we drill too fast, we might destabilize the upper mantle." Roth smiled slightly. "Then we drill fast and get out faster. We're not here to keep the planet alive, just long enough to finish." Cal's heart sank. This wasn't just about stealing energy. It was about ripping out the core of Virilia itself. If they dug that deep, the damage could collapse valleys, dry rivers, even split parts of the land. He recorded every word, every image. Then he pulled back quietly, heart racing. He moved fast across the plains, following hidden paths back toward the capital. The council chamber was quiet when he arrived. Cal stood before them again, just like before. But this time, he brought proof they couldn't ignore. He played the recording. The images showed Roth, the map, the drill plan. The words were clear. The silence afterward was heavy. Some council members shifted uncomfortably. Others whispered to each other. One, Council Wren, stood up slowly. If this is true," she said, "then we have been tricked." But Council Leader Arian stayed calm. He raised a hand. "Anyone with the right tools can make a false image," he said. "The humans gave us medicine that heals burns in seconds. They shared blueprints for clean air systems. These recordings could be a mistake, or a trick." Cal couldn't believe what he was hearing. "You won't even consider stopping them?" he asked. Arian looked at him firmly. "We've come too far. The people want progress. If we push the humans away, we go back to fear. That is not the path forward. They're going to destroy the land," Cal said. Louder now. "This isn't progress. It's theft." Arian's voice grew colder. "Then what would you have us do? Attack them? Break the peace we've lived with for thousands of years?" Cal stepped back, feeling something crack inside him. "I would have you listen," he said. But no one answered. That night, Cal returned to the Elder Temple. The mountain air was still. The stars above looked quiet and distant, like watchers too far away to help. Elder Ciro sat near the fire, eyes half closed. "They didn't believe me," Cal said. The Elder nodded once. "They are afraid, not of the humans, of being wrong, and of being the ones to stop a dream." Cal lowered his head. "What now?" Cal Ciro stood slowly. He walked to a locked stone case near the wall and opened it. Inside was a small crystal, long and sharp, glowing faintly blue. He held it in both hands and turned to Cal. "This is called a Severstone," the Elder said. "It was made in the old times. It is not a weapon of war, but it can cut machines, power lines, even stop a drill." Cal took it carefully. It was warm in his hands, pulsing softly. "Why me?" he asked. "Because you are not looking for a fight," Cal Ciro said. "Only the truth. But when the truth is ignored, sometimes it must be shown with action." Cal left the temple before sunrise. He didn't know exactly what he was going to do yet, but he knew where he would go. to the crystal fields, to the machines, to the truth that no one wanted to see. The crystal fields were no longer quiet. Machines hummed louder now, their drills biting into the ground with slow, steady rhythm. Tall towers marked the human base, blinking red through the morning fog. The land, once full of birdsong and glowing trees, now throbbed with the pulse of heavy engines. The humans worked in shifts day and night. They said they were gathering energy, but Kale knew better. He crouched behind a ridge of dark stone, watching the operation from above. He had been here since nightfall, silent and still. Through his scout lens, he counted 6 drills, each sunk deep into the earth. A web of metal pipes stretched across the ground, feeding power from the field to the base. Dozens of storage tanks waited for the crystals that had already been harvested. The earth trembled, just for a second, but enough for Kale to feel it in his bones. He touched the ground. It felt warm, too warm. The humans were drilling deeper now, reaching for the planet's energy veins, the same veins that connected the land's life force. Elder Zero had told him once that the planet lived, just as they did, and now its heart was being cut open. Kale slid back from the ridge and moved quickly toward the forest edge, where 3 other Varelians waited for him, Jenna, Thay, and Oren, all scouts, all trusted, all who had seen enough to believe. "They've breached the second layer," Jenna said quietly. "We saw the readings. The energy flow is unstable. They're waking something," Oren added. "The land is responding. There were crystal fractures in the eastern hills." Kale nodded. "Then we don't have much time." He unwrapped the Severstone from its cloth. It pulsed gently in his hand, a soft glow like a heartbeat. It was warm and alive, in a way no machine ever could be. "We disable the main drill," Kale said. "We get in, cut the power and get out. No fights, no deaths, just the truth." Thay looked nervous. "What if they stop us? What if they have weapons?" Kale met his eyes. "Then we don't fight back. We protect the land. That's all." They moved under the cover of night, slipping between machines and shadows. The humans were focused on the drills and data. Guards stood watch, but they looked bored, lazy. They didn't expect resistance from a peaceful people. Kale led his team to the largest drill, Tower 6. It stood in the center of a deep pit, anchored by thick steel arms. A glowing control console sat at its base, blinking with codes and symbols. This was the heart of the operation. Kale reached the console. He placed the Severstone against a power node. It vibrated once, then released a sharp pulse of light. The console sparked and went dark. Above them, the drill groaned. The spinning slowed. The metal strained. Then silence. One drill down. But then came the alarm. A shrill, piercing sound echoed across the field. Red lights flared. The calm night turned chaotic. Human guards rushed from the barracks shouting. Kale grabbed the Severstone and ran. "Split up," he called. "Back to the trees." They scattered. Kale dove through a gap in the fence and rolled behind a storage tank. Footsteps thundered past him. Voices shouted. Lights swept across the ground. But he kept moving, fast and low, until he reached the forest edge again. Then he stopped, because standing at the tree line alone was Commander Roth. He held a weapon in one hand, but he didn't raise it. He simply looked at Kale with that same calm, cold expression. "You just made a very big mistake," Roth said. Kale stepped out of the shadows, breathing hard. "No, I showed you we're watching. You're not invisible here." Roth tilted his head. "You think you've done something noble. You've endangered your own people. We're trying to save ours. By destroying ours." Roth didn't answer right away. He lowered his weapon just a little. "Earth is dying," he said. "We've polluted our oceans, burned our skies. We need this. Without it, billions will suffer." Kale's voice was steady. "So you'll kill another world to save your own?" "If that's what it takes," Roth said flatly. Kale felt the weight of those words settle like a stone in his chest. There was no room for peace in Roth's plan. Only survival. Only taking. Then the ground shook. Not from footsteps. Not from drills. This time it was deep. A long, low rumble that rolled through the trees and up Kale's legs. Birds exploded from the branches. Crystals in the fields flickered and cracked. Roth looked around, eyes wide. "What was that?" he asked. Kale answered without fear. "The planet. It's warning you." Roth stepped back slowly, suddenly uncertain. Kale turned and vanished into the trees. Back at the Elder Temple, Kale knelt before Elder Zero. His team returned safely, but the land had changed. The tremor had reached even the capital. A lake had boiled in the north. A cliff had collapsed in the west, and the council at last began to listen. But it was already late, because the drills had woken something deep and old, and Virilia was no longer silent. The air was thick with heat and smoke. Tower 6 lay in ruins, still smoldering from the blast of the Severstone. The humans had shut down the remaining drills for now, but the damage was already spreading. Cracks ran through the plains like dark scars. Streams had turned murky. The crystals, once glowing with soft light, now flickered weakly, as if the planet was holding its breath. The council was in panic. People demanded answers. Some fled the capital. Others stood frozen, unsure of who to trust, Kale or the humans. And through it all, Commander Roth remained calm. He stood before the council 2 days after the tremor, his uniform crisp, his voice steady. "What happened was an accident," he said. "Our equipment failed. We'll fix the damage. We only need more time." Kale stood at the edge of the room, watching him lie. The council, tired and shaken, didn't respond right away. Even council leader Arian looked uncertain now. Kale stepped forward. "There is no time left," he said. "The land is shifting. You all felt it. The crystal network is breaking down. If they drill again, the entire valley could collapse." Kale's in met his eyes. "What would you have us do? Start a war?" Kale didn't flinch. "No, but we stop them now, before they go deeper." That night, the elders gathered in the temple. For the first time in many years, they lit the fire of warning, an old Virelian ritual used only when the land itself was in danger. Its flames were blue and high, reaching toward the stars. All who saw it knew the meaning. The humans, too. Roth didn't waste time. The next morning, Kale woke to the sound of engines. He ran to the cliffs and looked out. 3 more drills had been activated. Their long arms sank into the earth. Energy towers buzzed and sparked. Around them, human guards stood armed and ready. Roth was done talking. He had started the final extraction. Kale gathered Jenna, Thay, and Orun. "This is it," he said. "We end it tonight." He showed them the path to the deepest drill, the one reaching the main energy vein. Elder Zero had given him a second Severstone, more powerful than the first. It was older, forged in the time of the first contact. It could break through hardened steel, cut cables, even shut down energy conduits. They moved at dusk. The sky was dark with clouds, and the wind howled like a warning. Thunder rumbled in the distance, not from the sky, but from deep beneath the ground. The planet was stirring. Kale's team slipped past the first line of guards. The humans were focused on the drills. They didn't see the 4 shadows that crept through the low grass. Near the main tower, Kale paused. The drill was massive, taller than any building in the capital. It spun slowly, glowing red at the base where it met the ground. Kale fed it energy from nearby towers. The air smelled of hot metal. Kale nodded to the others. "Go. I'll take the core." Kale's inner and the others moved to the side towers, ready to cut power lines. Kale approached the main drill, Severstone in hand, but before he reached it, he heard a voice. "I warned you." Roth stepped from the shadows, weapon in hand, flanked by 2 soldiers. Kale stood tall, not moving. "I won't let you do this," he said. "You can't stop me," Roth replied. "This planet is already breaking. If we don't take what we need now, it will all be wasted. You don't care about this planet. I care about survival." Kale raised the Severstone. "I do too," he said. "But not just mine." Roth lifted his weapon. Kale expected it, but before he could fire, the ground roared. A massive tremor shook the valley. The drill tipped slightly. Cracks opened beneath it. One of the energy towers fell with a loud crash, sparks flying into the sky. The soldiers stumbled. Roth fell to one knee. Kale ran. He reached the core of the drill and slammed the severstone into the base. Light exploded from the crystal. The entire drill screamed as circuits blew apart. Sparks rained down. Flames burst from its side. The cable snapped and whipped through the air. Kale jumped back as the machine collapsed. Smoke filled the valley. The machine stopped. The roar faded, and silence returned for a moment. Kale coughed and stood up slowly. The drill was broken. Roth was gone, disappeared in the chaos. Jenna, Thay, and Orun rejoined him, covered in dust but alive. "It's done," Kale said, breathless. Kale looked out over the ruined field. "No," he said, "it's just beginning." They returned to the capital before dawn. The council met again, this time with fear in their eyes, not of Kale, but of what they had allowed. Elder Zero stepped forward and faced them all. "We warned you. Now we must heal what we can, and remember what we nearly lost." Kale stood behind him, tired but steady. The humans had left. The ship was gone by morning. No farewell, no message, just smoke and broken machines left behind, and a scar on the land. Virilia was quiet again, but it was not the same quiet it once knew. The skies were still blue, and the twin suns still warmed the land. But the ground had changed. The forests that glowed now flickered unevenly. The crystal fields no longer hummed with their peaceful rhythm. The planet was alive, but wounded. In the days following the destruction of the human drills, the council ordered all paths to the outer fields closed. The elders took charge of healing the land. Teams of scouts and crystal keepers worked day and night, sealing cracks, recharging weakened energy flows, and collecting broken fragments. It would take years, maybe lifetimes, but they believed the world could recover. Kale spent those days not in celebration, but in silence. He walked the forests alone, checking for signs of further damage. He studied the rivers and measured the heat rising from the ground. The tremors had stopped. The drills had been destroyed. The humans were gone. But peace did not return so easily. The people had questions. Some blamed the council for trusting the humans. Others blamed Kale for provoking them. Most simply didn't know who to believe anymore. Trust, once strong and quiet like the planet, was now cracked like the crystals that lay in pieces across the fields. The council called a meeting. This time all were invited. Thousands came to the open temple grounds, citizens, elders, scouts, even children. The fires were lit again, not blue with warning, but white with cleansing. Council leader Arian stood before them, no longer smiling, his voice low and slow. "We were wrong," he said. "We ignored the elders. We ignored our scouts. We believed in progress, and we forgot to protect what made us who we are." He looked to Kale, and one among us remembered. Kale did not walk forward. He stood where he was, quiet, as everyone turned to look. "I didn't want to be right," he said. "I believed in peace too. I wanted to meet the stars. I wanted to trust them. But peace only works when both sides want it. The humans didn't come to share. They came to take. We forgot that our world is not just ours to enjoy, but ours to protect." Elder Zero stepped beside him, placing a hand on his shoulder. "The planet warned us," the elder said. "And now we will listen, always." The council voted to restore full power to the elders. All contact with outsiders was suspended. The humans would not be welcomed again, not until they proved they had changed, not just in words, but in how they lived. Kale returned to the forests, but this time not as a scout. He was now a watcher, a guardian of Virilia's borders. His task was not to fight, but to observe, to teach and to remember. One morning, many seasons later, a young child followed him along the edge of the crystal field. The child was quiet, but curious, just as Kale had been. "Is it true," the child asked, "that the humans came from the sky?" Kale nodded. "They came, and they spoke kindly, but they didn't speak truth. Will they come back?" Kale looked up at the stars. "Maybe," he said. And maybe next time they'll come with open hands instead of empty promises. But if they don't, we'll be ready. Because now we listen, we remember. The child looked at the crystals below. Is the planet still angry? Kale knelt beside the child and touched the ground. No, he said softly. The planet was never angry. It was only trying to protect itself. He stood again, tall and calm, the light of the twin suns shining over the valley. The wind moved gently through the trees. Somewhere in the distance the crystals hummed again, faintly but surely, not as they once did, but they would. In time,